I heard that you a pedophile, you touch little boys and girls.
So Drake dropped For All the Dogs this year, and while it did not live up to expectations, which is very evident when you look at what I scored the album, it still had a few good songs on it. Guaranteed though, not every song is good, but the moment I heard track 17 from this album, I knew we would be in for a treat.
It's weighing heavy on my moral scale, knowing they gon' sell another Citizen Kane. They think they...
So after the mediocrity that followed everything after the Screw the World interlude that was a chopped and screwed version of If I Ruled the World by Nas, we finally got to the best song on the album. Track 17, 8 AM in Charlotte. And let me tell you, this one was special. This song was unlike the rest, because you know it's a time-stamped song. This one's gonna hit differently than the rest. And you know Drake's gonna come through with his lyricism. That is also clearly so due to the production from Conductor Williams. If you don't know who he is, he worked with basically every member of Griselda. He worked with Westside Gunn, Conway the Machine, Rome Streets, Benny the Butcher, you name it. And I was excited to hear that he got a production credit on this song because up to when this album released, I loved everything that he has worked on up to this moment. So then, because I couldn't wait any longer, I clicked play and experienced the true greatness this song truly was. The song title is based off the city located in North Carolina, and usually when it comes to these time-stamped songs, they usually contain the time it currently is when they are recording in that said location. And, of course, it also contains the name of the location he's at. To give you an example as to how Drake would come up with a title like this, I'll give you my own take on a Drake time-stamp song title 4 AM in the Bronx. So now that you got an idea of how those time-stamp songs work, let's get into the lyrics of this song. He starts the song off by saying that he's still out here doing this shit, which is what he means when he's saying that he's out here on the road. It then gets into the first verse where he says, "The money speaking for itself. I call it fortune tell." This line is a double entendre where basically Drake says that he doesn't need someone to tell him what his fortune is because he already knows that he made quite the fortune. It's some clever wordplay there, which is mainly the reason why I like this song. Then a few bars later he says, "I leave for tour and my niggas fucking go to jail." This is in reference to Tory Lanez getting sentenced to 10 years in prison while Drake was on It's All a Blur tour with 21 Savage. This isn't the first time he talked about the Tory and Megan situation. He previously brought it up on track 9 on her loss called Circo Loco where he raps, "This bitch lie about getting shot but she's still a stallion." This line caused controversy when the album first released in November 4th of 2022 and people mostly thought that Drake was talking about Megan Thee Stallion getting shot by Tory Lanez in the leg after promptly telling her to dance bitch. Yachty then had to clarify this by stating that Drake was talking about women getting ass shots and that it wasn't about Megan. This wouldn't matter though because the entire lyric would age like sour milk when Tory Lanez actually got jail time for doing this. So I guess Drake was wrong, but when is he not? We then get to the next bar I wanna talk about, which is preaching to the dogs bout wanting more for themselves. Drake refers to his homeboys as dogs and says that they want more for themselves. Or at least that's what Drake hopes. Then the next bar that follows is, "It's weighing heavy on my moral scale." This is a double entendre as well where Drake not only refers to his moral compass which is being tested by his homeboys, but he also refers to a scale. Something that can be used to weigh something. Mostly people though. So I thought that bar was cool as well. The bar that comes after that is, "Now in they gon' sell another Citizen Kane. They think they Orson Welles." Orson Welles plays the main character of Citizen Kane, a 1941 drama movie that scored a 99% on Rotten Tomatoes. So that's a neat little reference there. The next bar that follows is, "Walk in Chanel. They like how the fuck you need more Chanel?" Because Chanel knows that Drake has already gotten plenty of Chanel. They question why he needs to add more to his collection considering it's pretty huge. This is a reference to his fame where he can basically afford all the Chanel he wants to now. And that's important to note when it comes to this song. That it's a reflection of where Drake is at now. It's kind of catching you up to date on the exact moment leading up to the album's release, which is cool in hindsight. It's also what Drake does best on these time-stamped songs. Reflect on his thought process. A few bars later, we then get to a really good bar Drake puts on the song. "I say, we gotta talk about us. I feel like Jordan Peele. You might not get this bar off of first listen, but I'll explain it to you. Us is a horror movie directed by Jordan Peele that released in 2019 where the main character is confronted by her traumatic past and is destined to find out the truth. I highly recommend you watch this movie. Few bars later and we get the bar. Could tell I'm getting under your skin like an orange peel. To get under someone's skin means basically that you're irritating them, which is not Drake's intent at all. As for the wordplay here, when you peel an orange, the skin is underneath it. And that's what Drake's referring to here when he says under your skin like an orange peel. Next bar we get is, cause your words don't match your actions like a foreign film. When films from other countries get brought over into the US, the dubbing might not be on par with what was actually being said in the original movie. And this isn't just the case with movies though. This also happens to shows from other countries as well. For example, when Squid Game was released in 2021, there was an English dub released alongside it. However, what the people in the dub were saying didn't quite match up with what the characters were actually saying, making their mouth movements look weird. The original show was meant to be watched in Korean. Obviously, not everyone knows Korean, and I don't blame you for choosing the English dub. It's just that you might have been better off picking the Korean sub instead. But basically what Drake means by this is that this girl will say one thing and then do the other. We've all been through this before, right? So it's nothing new to us men for women to give us mixed signals. I mean hell, I full on expect it at this point. The next bar that follows is also referencing films. And now it's silence in the Lamb like the horror film. So Lamb is slang for a Lamborghini, an expensive car your favorite rapper probably owns. And basically Drake is saying that all the people in the Lamborghini got silent all of a sudden. This is also a double entendre because it's in reference to the 1991 horror film Silence of the Lambs where Clarice is interviewing a psychiatrist named Hannibal Lecter. I also highly recommend that you watch this movie. The bar that follows is, things get quiet after me stating the obvious, which better explains the meaning of the first bar. The reason why it got silent in the Lamborghini is because Drake was telling the truth. She, admittedly, didn't want to believe that, which is why this is the last conversation that Drake will ever have with this woman. A few bars later Drake reflects on his success and shouts out a few people that helped get to his top position. The first is Oliver El Khatib, who, in this verse, is referred to as his nickname Oliver North, where he states, "Shout to Oliver North. He out in Rome doing Toronto shit." For reference, Oliver is Canadian, meaning he's from Toronto, Canada, and he states that Oliver is currently in Rome. He then shouts out his security guard Jeremiah when he states, "And Jeremiah the watchdog, you niggas know what time it is." This is another double entendre wherein being a watchdog, you keep watch of everything that's happening and make sure that nothing bad happens. And if something bad happens then he'll be sure to handle it. This is also in reference to a watch which displays the time, but they already know what time it is so there's no need to check. He also shouts out Central C and 21 Savage, which are both UK rappers. He references Central C by saying hoes waitin' on Sench in the lobby. That boy a lobbyist. At the time of Drake making this song, he already collaborated with Central C on his On the Radar freestyle, which is currently the most popular On the Radar freestyle ever made. He then references 21 Savage by saying Savage got a green card straight out of the consulate. Drake has collaborated with 21 Savage multiple times, even producing a collab album together in 2022. This bar in particular though is in reference to 21 Savage's interaction with ICE when he got into America. At the time, he was classified as a British immigrant who needed to obtain a green card in order to stay in America. This was revealed through ICE documents that were shown that 21 Savage got locked up. He was able to get a green card though, as revealed on his guest verse on By Chance by UK rapper Gigs. And so this feels like a moment of celebration for 21 Savage now that he's officially an American citizen. And now going into the second verse, Drake states that he's moving different in terms of his musical output and streaming numbers before starting the second verse off with the bar, "Diamonds do the silly dance. I raise up the wine glass." I think this is most likely a reference to the song Diamonds Dancing, track 4 from the collaborative project he and Future made together called What a Time to Be Alive. The next bar that follows is, "Metal detectors beeping and security bypass." This is a double entendre and I'll explain why. When you're walking around with ice on, people might pull out a metal detector to detect whether the ice is real or not. For Drake though, they let him pass through because they already know that for someone with a status as high as his, you could probably tell that his ice is genuine. This is also in reference to the airport where they check your stuff using metal detectors before you can pass through. He previously mentioned the William P. Hobby Airport, an airport that he often goes to in the first verse where he said, "I'm in and out of Houston Hobby so much, I'm a hobbyist." Because Drake has been on so many flights, he considers it a hobby of his, and usually when he goes on these flights, security lets him pass by because of his high status. The next bar afterwards also talks about his high status, specifically when he says the numbers going up, which he then follows up with "Someone pull up the line graph." A line graph is a visualization of how something's doing, with that something in this case being Drake's career. This is another way of him saying that numbers wise, he's doing really well. He just charted a hit song with J. Cole on it, which gave him his first ever #1 hit, something J. Cole always strived to get. He also gave Yeat another #1 hit, adding to his success as well. And for everything that he does, the numbers continue to go up and he continues to strive. And he has been able to for about 15 years now. And his growth might never stop. He might even surpass the amount of streams Michael Jackson has, in which he referenced that on First Person Shooter. The next bar is in reference to how much time went by since this all happened. The days are going by. It's like I'm living in time lapse. A time lapse is a measure of time in which events happen. In this case, it's a measure of how much time it's been since Drake achieved these feats. And it took a lot of time, but he's here now. In the next bar, Drake gives another shout out to someone in his circle. This time it's Adele, future Prince Nur, a business partner of his, where he states, "Been talking to Adele like he majored in finance." This is in reference to Drake sitting down and talking with Adele about his next decision. He is a producer who worked on both Euphoria and Top Boy, Drake's very own Netflix show. This is also in reference to the company Dell, which specializes in finance. The next line after that is, Shania Twain, Notepad, I'm marking it line dance. This is not only in reference to Drake's songwriting but also in reference to the popular line dancing song by Shania Twain called Any Man of Mine. The line after that is, you tryna rob me, and it gon' feel like you sitting at yo favorite restaurant cause that's where you dine at. Drake here states that if you try to rob them then you're getting shot and killed. And that's also the case for trying to rob me. So you better not do it. I'm warning ya. A few lines later and we get the bar, long kiss goodnight. PDA for my enemies. This bar is in reference to the 1997 Notorious B.I.G. song Long Kiss Goodnight. By doing this, Drake is putting his enemies into a deep sleep, which is another way of him saying that he's killing his enemies. Meanwhile, PDA stands for Public Display of Affection, which follows up the Long Kiss Goodnight. Then we get a golf bar afterwards. 300 acres. PGA on the premises. So basically Drake here is saying that he bought 300 acres of land, which is long enough to be classified as a PGA course. For those unfamiliar with golf, a PGA course is the course you play the game on. And if you don't know what PGA stands for, then it stands for the Professional Golfers Association of America. He then follows this up with, that's what's really brackin' like this verse in parentheses. Drake does the classic thing of swapping the C's in words to B's, representing 9 Trey blood affiliation. And obviously a bracket is a type of parentheses you can use around a word. And then the last bar of the second verse is, I'm giving hits to niggas on some. Don't even mention it. This is in reference to the guest features that Drake has been giving to up-and-coming rappers as of recently. And this is known as the Drake effect, which is basically your song getting a boost in numbers because it has Drake on it. The first instance where this happened was when Drake gave a feature to up-and-coming rapper Trouble. And ever since then he has kept his streak of giving these artists features. And that's that. For the third and final verse, Drake talks about rappers earning money than what they make, which might be a diss towards Young Boy himself. Won't be the first time someone dissed him. J. Cole also took shots at him on Yachty's The Secret Recipe, where he said, incoming call. Press the button. The one that say accept. He FaceTimed to ask for a feature and saw the face of death. This is in reference to when Cole was waiting 8 hours for Young Boy to show up to the studio. He never did, and then he ended up dissing him on Fuck the Industry Part 2, where he dissed him for doing a song with Lil Durk. He then clapped back here and basically said that he would murder the track he's featured on. This is in reference to how Cole takes over your track with one simple feature, and once that happens then it's no longer your song. Besides Dirk, he also gave features to J-Hope, Gutsy Mane, Nicki Minaj and Burna Boy recently. So basically being said, Cole is currently having the best feature run of his career right now. Now back to Drake. The next line that follows is, "You niggas obsessed with me," and it's not on no hetero vibe. Here Drake states that people are so obsessed with him to the point where he questions their sexuality. This is also a direct shot at Charlemagne, who is obsessed with Drake. After the criticism he gave Drake on Slime You Out, he responded by asking if he's okay and why he's acting like this towards him. It's crazy though, because there's a lot of Drake dick riders as well. Not saying I am one, but you can't be straight if you're this obsessed over him. Like, you just can't. Next few bars are about how Drake handles his rap beefs. Handle beef so quiet, you think that I'm letting it slide. When Drake gets involved in beefs, he's usually silent on his end unless there's a certain reason for him not being silent on his end. Whether that's because they expect him to diss them back or because they are trying to expose him. But either way, he doesn't usually be vocal on his end. Next thing you know, we tiptoeing past enemies' lines. This is him making peace by going over to enemy bases and squashing the beef. It usually does work and they forget about the beef that they had. But this next bar is about what happens after you get dissed by Drake. Diss me so long ago, we making your memories fly. Basically because it's been so long, they probably forgot about the beef because their memories about it were shot out of their head by Drake himself, who did not forget about the beef. The next bar is in the same vein as that. Conspiracy theories start floating round like the Kennedy guy. Because of how Drake handled the beef, certain theories about them will start floating around. This is, of course, in reference to shooting his opponents in the head, which we discussed in the previous bar. And because it is unknown of what really happened, conspiracy theories will start coming up about what really happened. But frankly, nobody's gonna get the truth from Drake himself. The same thing happened with X, where after he died he kept it quiet on his end. But that didn't stop people from thinking that he was involved with X's murder. To further justify this, he did not show up to X's trial. But that didn't stop him from sending a few more shots at X while he was still dead. However, it's probably unlikely that he did kill X because there is no evidence to suggest that he would have been involved in doing something like that. Also, I'm pretty sure it was also pretty obvious that Michael Sherrill Boatwright killed him, not Drake. But conspiracy theories aside, let's get into the next bar, which is, "I'll probably hold a grudge against you guys till I'm 75. This is most likely in reference to his feuds with Pusha T and Kanye West, which he would probably forget about when he's 75 years old. He'll probably also be retired by then and might not find rapping his passion anymore. I mean, realistically, I might retire in 2034, in which I'll be 40 by then, but at the longest I might retire in 2054, in which I'll be 60, but I might also consider retiring in 2044 when I'm 50, so I don't know. But the only thing I do know is at most I have 31 years left of doing this shit. Then I'm done for good. And at least I have 11 years left. But that's besides the point. Few lines later and we get another diss towards Kanye. "You forced a lot of fake love when real ones stood in your face." This is in reference to Kanye forging fake friendships with politicians and fashion houses to progress his career when the real people that could trust were right there all along. The next bar builds off from this. "That's why you got deserted by your niggas like pudding and cake." Here he's basically saying that because of these fake friendships ye forged, the real people that were there for him all along left him and turned their back on him. This line also contains the classic Drake homophone where he makes one word sound like another. He mentions pudding and cake after saying he got deserted by his niggas because dessert sounds like dessert. And as you all know, pudding and cake are classified as dessert foods. So there's some clever wordplay there. The next bar after that is, "I got you on camera bowing down, but the footage is safe." Drake is now dissing Pusha T once again by saying that he had the inside knowledge to destroy Pusha in the beef they had back in 2018, but he couldn't use that knowledge against him because, ironically, Pusha T had more insider knowledge on him that he used against him instead. He then follows this up with, "Thank God, another USB to put in the safe." Here we have another double entendre where this could mean that Drake has the footage secured in the safe so that only he could access it. It could also be in reference to the American billion-dollar bill in which he collects a bunch of those considering his high financial status. Another bar later and we get a bar about what these beefs have done to Drake. I swear that y'all turned me into the villain. I couldn't escape. Here he's basically saying that because of all these beefs he's been involved in, the people dissing Drake turned him evil and made him show zero remorse for the people criticizing him. This is also in reference to track 22 on CLB called The Remorse, where he says that they turned him bad even when he didn't want to be. And that's basically what these beefs have done to him. They made him show his dark side. The next bar is him boasting that he's still good at what he does and that he feels confident in not losing a single beef. Not saying that I'm the best at what I do. I'm just saying that it's me versus whoever wanna lose. Here he states that if he's going against someone in a beef then he's confident in winning every single time, to where he assumes that the other person will lose in the beef, because he believes that he's that good. The next bar also ties into this with him saying, pick any one of the who's who's. I got .22s for new crews. Basically here he's telling his opponent to pick how he's willing to go out, with .22s being a reference to .22 caliber pistols. He then follows that up with, RIP to the DJ from Houston. We lose screws. This is a direct reference to DJ Screw, who innovated the chopped and screwed scene that we still see in music nowadays. He died on November 16, 2000 after overdosing on lean. He is still remembered to this day for being the best DJ to ever do chopped and screwed. Earlier in the album, we got an interlude named Screw the World, which was a homage to his signature chopped and screwed style. And then he ends the song off by saying that you've probably heard a lot about Drake. And because you all know about Drake by now, that's why I include him in these lists. Overall, Drake shows us that you don't have to name drop in order to diss people. His success will last him a long time in the music industry. He doesn't forget so easily and he can actually rap when he wants to. And overall this song contains the best flows and cadence I have heard from Drake in recent years.